Dave Anderson here with the Fisherman magazine. It's January 30th. These are your headlines. Rhode Island's finally wrapping up their trout and salmon stocking this week. Also hearing about really good pike fishing from interior portions of Connecticut and Massachusetts. And we've got the Northeast Fishing Expo up in Marlborough, Massachusetts. Stay tuned for all that and more on this week's New England Fishing Forecast.
The ultimate fishing authority in the Northeast, the Fisherman magazine.
Before we begin, we've got a few news items for you guys. We'll start things off with the announcement of the February edition. That comes out this week. We've got a lot of great stuff in this issue. We've got building a combo fluke and tog rod. We've got building a surf howdy, written by me, and all the history behind that plug. We've got if you've ever wanted to make a trip up to Champlain to do some ice fishing, we've got an article that covers all that by Will Walker. We have a really great profile on Al Williams, written by David Germain. Al is a 50-year veteran of striper fishing up on the North Shore and Cape Ann of Massachusetts, and it's an extremely informative read. Definitely something you're going to want to check out. And there's a lot more stuff in there beyond that. It's a really great action-packed issue. Don't miss that one. Also, want to talk about that Northeast Fishing Expo, which is up in Marlborough, Massachusetts, at the Best Western up there. This used to be the Boxborough show. You get a lot of swim bait guys there. You've got a lot of freshwater stuff, but there's more and more saltwater stuff coming in there every year. So whether you're a freshwater guy or a saltwater guy, it's definitely worth checking out. I think I'm going to head up there on Saturday just to walk the show and sort of get a feel for what's going on in there. But I visited the show many times in the past, and it's a great, great show. Definitely want to check that out. Now we'll talk about that stocking up in Rhode Island. The Rhode Island, as we talked about last week, Rhode Island announced that they were going to do some winter stocking in 13 ponds. Well, the weather was not too conducive to stocking these ponds. And right when we were releasing the video last week, they announced that they were going to have to postpone the stocking. Well, weather got a little bit better this week, and it looks like 8 or 9 of those 13 ponds have been stocked at this point, and probably by the weekend, all of them will have been stocked. We're getting Sebago salmon, we're getting rainbow trout, we're getting golden rainbow trout. This is going to make for better ice fishing, and closer to the coast where we might have a little bit of open water, it's going to give you some open water fishing chances as well. We'll put the list of ponds up here on the screen, but if you need more details, just head over to the DEM website. You can get all the details and even up to the minute stocking updates as well.
No guessing, just catching. New Explore Series fish finders keep you locked on fish with unbeatable clarity, best-in-class imaging options, and a stunning ultra-bright HD screen. There's more to explore, only with Humminbird.
Now we're going to talk about the giveaway, which wraps up this week, and things got pretty interesting at the end. It was a slow trickle for a little while there, but once the ice hardened up, we started getting a lot more photos, and it came down to just one guy who just kept hitting me with photos, and that was this kid, River Wild. I think he's maybe 12 years old. And he has been putting on a clinic on the ice. I just can't believe the number and quality of fish this kid is catching. So he's going to win the flat glide needlefish. He's going to win the NLBN plastics from me. And he's also going to win my undying admiration, because this kid is a beast on the ice. And really looking forward to seeing more photos coming in from him. So congratulations to River. And we'll start another one right now, and this one's going to wrap up all the way out in May. May 28th, we're going to wrap this one up. Man, does it feel good to say May 28th. Can't get there fast enough if you ask me. But this one, we're going to give away one of the surf howdies I made in the plug building article in the February edition. And I think I might have a couple other things to add to the prize pack as well. I'm going to go through the prize closet when I get home, and we'll see. But this is going to be a good one, just like the other one, and this is going to span one of my favorite parts of the season, where we go from ice to pre-spawn largemouth fishing to right into striper and tog and fluke and all that stuff. So lots of opportunities for a big win, and you guys know the drill by now, but it's just got to be you holding your fish. You got to send it to me at danderson@thefisherman.com, or text it to the number on the screen and just give me all the pertinent details. Name of the angler, where it was caught, what it was caught on, how big it was, stuff like that. We'll get you in the contest, get you in the report, get you in the magazine, and heck, you might even win something cool.
For more than 20 years, anglers everywhere have come to know one thing, that nothing says no to fish bites.
Moving over to the reports now, I could almost sum up the entire region's reports in about 5 sentences, but we're not going to make it that easy on me. We're still going to go regionally here. Up in the North Country, Maine, New Hampshire, Vermont, ice fishing is on fire. We've got safe ice on just about every body of water at this point. Definitely very, very safe ice. We're hearing about 10, 12 inches in some places. So that's gonna sustain. That's gonna hold for a long time. We're seeing some nice bass coming out of Maine. We're seeing some nice trout coming out of southern New Hampshire, and up on Champlain, we're seeing some pike coming out of there. And I'll remind you again, if you guys have ever thought about making that trip up to Champlain to do some pike fishing through the ice, we've got an article in the February edition by Will Walker, covers everything. All the stuff you need, all the places you need to stop, all the ice safety tips, a whole list of the things that you need to pack in your car, no matter how big or how small your vehicle is, and how to make it an enjoyable trip. So you definitely want to check that out. Dropping down over the border into Massachusetts, Kevin's taking the week off. He's got a little bit too much going on, but he did tell me that the coves of the Merrimack River have been safe. Guys have been out there doing some perch fishing, doing some pike fishing. You also have the opportunity to target some carp through the ice, although I haven't heard of anybody doing that. And then all of the smaller ponds, in this sort of satellite area are safe, and we've seen lots of trout coming out of those ponds, and some good bass fishing up there as well. Drop it down into the Boston area. We're going to check in with Danny Parma. He took a fisherman's safety course this week, which becomes especially important if you spend a lot of time offshore. Check this out.
Thanks, Dave. Dan checking in with this week's report. Today, I'm not on the water, checking in Essex, Mass. Today's the fishing partnership first aid safety course. Safety first. Got to make sure you're safe out there on the water. Safety first, guys. We all love fishing, but you never know if you're 50, 80 miles offshore, 100 miles, and some kind of medical emergency happens. Someone on the boat needs to know what to do to give that person a fighting chance, so might as well be you. Winter time, when it's slow, go out there, try and see if you can find a course going in your city or town. Usually, if you search around, you can find one. And stay safe. I'll catch you on the next one.
Heading inland, you guys probably know by now that I grew up in central Massachusetts, so I know, a little bit more about central Mass than maybe the average person. The ice fishing has been really good up in that area. Comet Pond has been good. Hopkinton Reservoir has been good. Several other bodies of water in that Metro Worcester area have been hot. One of the best is the A1 site, and my backyard used to end right on the shoreline of A1, so I have a little bit of extra information there. You'll see that most of the guys that ice fish on A1 are going to be in the basin area. So that's like where the dam is. You can see it from Mill Road, kind of out to that central island. There's a couple other spots, though, that don't get hit as hard that are very productive. If you get out onto the main part of the lake, which is where all the flooded timber is, it's just stumps and trees for as far as the eye can see. On the south side, you've got a little pump station. Now, right off the end of that pump station, there's an old river channel that runs through there. You got a little bit deeper water there. That could be a great place to set up some tip-ups, and seen some nice pike come out of there. Even though the place is not known for having tons of pike, it does have some in there, and there are some nice ones. On the north side of the lake, which is where I used to live, if you kind of go from that pump house and head sort of, I guess you'd be going northwest, you're going to come to like a big cove. You're going to come to a place where there's not as many stumps and trees. There's a small island there, and then off to the west, there's an expanse of water that has no stumps. That is like a little depression there. It gets a little bit deeper. So most of the lake's like 4 or 5 feet deep. This is going to get down to about 8 feet deep. And if you fish the line of stumps along that north edge of that spot, that could be a really great place to find some nice largemouth bass. So that's some little tips from one of the locals up there. Definitely something you want to check out. Heading further west, checked in with Roy Leva. He is sick today, so we're not going to have a video from him. But I do know that the pike fishing has been really good in some of those interior, sort of far western lakes in Massachusetts, and the pan fishing has been off the charts, which has sort of been the trend of this entire ice fishing season. Heading down toward the Cape now. There was lots of safe ice on the Cape. We are in coastal Rhode Island here right now, and I just checked this ice, and it's not safe. It might be safe out there a little ways, but along the edges, you got to be careful, and I suspect that's what's happening out on the Cape as well. So you're definitely going to want to pick your spots. We do have some more ice-making weather in the forecast, but we're going to have to endure a little bit of rain before that, so you're really going to want to be careful. However, the guys from the Goose did some ice fishing this week, and they put together a couple of videos, which I thought were pretty informative, so here they are.
Good afternoon, everybody. Danny Jones here from the Goose Hummock Shops. We're here for a late afternoon sesh doing a little ice fishing. The ice conditions here have been favorable. Some of the ponds are safe, some of them are not. Check with your local fire department to make sure where you're going before you head out onto the ice, especially, you know, kids and whatever. Today we're just doing a little jigging after work. Light tackle, jig sticks, not really any tip-ups. We're doing pretty good catching some small panfish on light gear. We have some of these jigs with us. Ian's going to talk about this right now, how we're using the jig sticks, which we have at the store. He's got in his hand.
Yep.
And what we're using for tackle.
Yep.
Ian?
What's that, I guess? So I recently acquired one of these little bracer combos. It's pretty affordable in the shop. We don't get a lot of ice on the Cape, so this is kind of like fits the budget for me. I got a little spoon on there. We've been tipping it with a little bit of Nightcrawler, and then the jigs with the little gulp edge on there. As far as terminal tackle, we run this Usuri Super Fluoro. This is 10 pound. You can use down to 6. And these things work awesome. It's a little demo of the little Mamuska jigs. These things, nice little small, but great for these panfish. I like the brighter colors. That like Fire Tiger, the orange is real good. And we're just tipping a little bit of worm on there. And for some of the bait tip-up setups, we use these gummy hooks. Boom. Just wanted to do a little touch up on what we kind of started on yesterday out on the pond. This is that little bracer combo that I was talking about. I got the red one. I would recommend going brighter colors. You put it down, you get a little bit of snow, and you'll lose the sucker. So, $20, I guess, briefly said on the pond video for the combo price. This thing is kind of doing the ticket for me. I had it with the little tsunami reel on it. I would highly recommend maybe putting a little Trilene XL. I got 6 pound here. I'm going to be respooling my jam. But these are just super simple, a whole lot of fun. We were catching those perch and some fish on this thing was absolutely killer. And just a lot of fun. We don't get a lot of ice on the Cape, so this is probably like the most ice we've had in the last 5 years right now. So I'm usually just going with a little spoon and just maybe 1 or 2 setups. We got 1 tip up and a jig rod, and that's pretty simple for me. Just travel light, and to be totally honest, I'd love to do it on the spoon. A little bit more active fishing, feeling the bite is a little bit more sweet for me. But yeah, I would highly recommend Trilene XL. It's basically the only mono that I use. And really, I'm a braid guy, but out there in the freezing cold, the braid ices up like crazy, and it ends up being more of a headache than anything else. Some of the little setups, these little Eagle Claw jig heads are nice. I can feel the bottom with these guys, and I usually just tip it with a little gulpage or the always favorite worm. You know, all the little perch, sunfish. I'll kind of take anything I can get to bite right now. So these guys are awesome, and you get a good little variety pack. I tend to do better on the brighter colors, and if you lose a couple, you're not crying. You get pickerel on it. It's whatever. You got backups. So those things are slammers. What I was actually using out on the pond yesterday was a little Castmaster. We just stocked up on these guys. I got a bunch of them in stock. This is just good old-fashioned silver, and I just had a little bit of trout worm on the back of these guys. Little fan favorite. Love these like little power bait tubes. Little mouse tail ones are great too. This is like that green with the brown, and I always do good on the pearl as well as an honorable mention. Something a little different. It's nice to get rid of the treble hooks when you can with these little fish, especially the bluegill with the small mouth. Another honorable mention. I love the Z-Man, little Ned. This is like the ultra finesse Ned. These are heavy duties, so if you get into a nice largie or big pickerel or something like that, I'm not too sweating it too bad. And this, I believe, is the smelt color. This is like a good all-around natural. They do like little Helgermite, little bug ones too, which kill it for the bass or for the trout skis. This is some of my favorites. Most all of this stuff can fit in your pocket. So like I said, I travel light. Maybe you got like a 5-gallon bucket to sit on, but pretty much everything can fit in my pockets walking out there. Again, be super safe out there. You know, assume that all ice is not safe ice. and just be super careful if you get out there. Choose like your isolated ponds. If it's spring fed or it's got herring run, it's probably not super set up. I like a minimum of 5 inches or around there parts. And, you know, a pond that could be like 3 to 4 inches with a couple of guys in a couple holes could be safe. And you start getting a lot of buddies out there and a lot of holes in that ice, and it can get unsafe real quick. So again, love to catch perch, love to get my pickerel, but keep safe and have your spikes, dress appropriate, never go alone, and have a great time, guys. See you.
And then the only other thing I heard this week from Massachusetts was about some guys out on the vineyard doing some ice fishing on some of the salt ponds, which I'm sure are not safe at this point, but they got at least one really nice striped bass. Check that out. And that's what I have for you guys in Massachusetts this week. Crossing over into Rhode Island, we'll start things off with an East Bay report from TJ Kopecky.
Thanks, Dave. Hey guys, got a quick report here from the East Bay, a little bit of South Coast Massachusetts, and status quo with the ice fishing here. It's been really good lately, and more people I've seen out on most of the ponds in the East Bay, from Melville to all the way up into Riverside, Willow Pond. All ice fishing, and everyone's catching fish. And I gotta say, a couple of the ponds were just stocked on Tuesday, Melville, Simmons, and Stafford. So if you have an opportunity this week or this weekend to get out and do some trout fishing, those fish are going to be eager to bite and on the feed. So actually, you probably have a really easy time catching trout through the ice. Just usually when they just release them into the ponds, they're very easy to catch. So that panfish, a lot of crappie being caught over here in Swansea, Milford Pond. I call it my crappie mecca. I usually do well all season long with crappie in Milford Pond. And Lewinbrook also, behind the junior high in Swansea. Another great pond that produces some really big crappie. And they've been catching them through the ice, along with some sunfish and some white perch and yellow perch to go with it. A lot of panfish, but you know what? The panfish bite is spot on. Once you can find them on these weed edges or in that deeper water, you're going to get the bite, and pretty much you just got to work them up a little bit of jigging, or get a nice live shiner down in that ice on a tippet, and you should have some good luck. So just to let you guys know, I'm gearing up to, I'm headed to Florida on Saturday, and I'm going to be doing some fishing there. So I will be reporting next week from sunny Florida. Hopefully we have some nice weather there. I'm sure it's a lot warmer than here. But we'll catch you next week, guys. Tight lines.
Now, with the recent trout stockings and the trout stockings that are ongoing through this weekend, the ice fishing in Rhode Island has only gotten better. I've seen a lot of guys out doing it that don't typically ice fish. I've seen a lot of nice trout coming through the ice. The size bracket has been really good. I haven't heard of anyone getting any salmon yet, but I guarantee you that somebody will. And you know, the only thing you got to keep an eye on now is the thickness of the ice. Again, with that weather coming in on Friday and into Saturday, it's going to do some damage to the ice, especially on those coastal ponds. But with more ice-making weather in the forecast, we may get back on it before we know it. One person I know that's been doing a lot of that is Jeff Sullivan. Let's check in with him now.
What's up, Dave? What's going on, guys? So you're probably looking at the TV right now wondering why I'm wearing sunglasses inside. Yes, if I was you, I'd be wondering the same thing. But there's a point to it, and I'll get to that in just a second. But first, an update on the DEM. The Rhode Island DEM has finished the winter trout stocking program. They finished as of yesterday, and they released a lot of big fish, big golden trout too, into our local trout waters, and it's a blast. If you guys haven't tried ice fishing before and you want to catch some trout, do it. This is your time to do it. We have a couple weeks left, you know, in February, and then it shuts down till April. So this is the time to do it. Get out there, guys. You know, I've seen some nice class rainbow trout, some beautiful Sebago salmon. I've seen some nice brown trout as well. We've been getting a lot of panfish in the mix too. We've been getting some yellow, white perch. We've been getting some crappie too. It's been a real fun ice fishing season so far, and unexpected but really fun. It's nice that the Mother Nature threw us a curveball this winter to switch things up. It did take me away from my white perch fishery plans that I had going in my head since the fall, but that's okay. April's coming and I'll get them, so stay tuned for that. I have my eye on them. But as far as the bite goes, it's been really consistent, and then it dies, and then it's really consistent, then it dies. It's just your classic ice fishing bite. You just got to find fish. It's different from open water where you can go and you can cover water to find fish. You have to use your electronics. You have to use your instincts. You know, use your equipment to find these fish. You're not casting at an angle to use the water columns to find it. You're straight up and down, so you literally have to find them. I mean, this time of year, some ponds and lakes, they stack up. I mean, really stack up. And when you get a good chew going, it could last for a while, or it can die after 2 fish. So, but it's the fun part is it's the unknown. You just never know. But go pick yourself up some ice rods if you never ice fished before. The little micro sticks, you know, nothing crazy. Get a dock team and even try that out. But for all you ice fishing guys that have been ice fishing, you know exactly what I'm talking about. There's been a lot of good safe ice around. I think the thickest I stepped on this week was 11, and the least I stepped on was, I think it was 5 or 6. So I mean, we got good ice pretty much everywhere. But that leads me to say, always check the ice. Always bring a spud bar, because you never know. The weather could change, and it could be raining for 5 days straight, and then freeze, and then go back out there, and it's kind of uneven. You got some hollow spots in the ice. You just always check the ice. Bring proper gear, proper clothing, and always bring sunglasses. Sunglasses, cleats, and ice spikes. Always. Especially with the sun too. You know, you're looking down a hole all day, and all that UV is coming back off that white surface back into your eyes. You want to be protected, because without your eyes, you got nothing. So you always want to have that protection from that big fireball up there. That thing is putting out a lot of UV power, so especially when it's bouncing back right off this ice's surface and right back into your eyeballs. So just get yourself a nice pair of sunglasses, you know, a couple bucks, or go out and buy yourself a really nice pair. Either way, I think they look cool on the ice, and I might start wearing them inside, Dave. I don't know. But yeah, that's all I'm doing. It's been pretty good, and hopefully we get the ice for another 2 weeks, and then it's time for open water. All right, guys, later.
The only other game in town is head boats, and I know a couple of the head boats made it offshore earlier this week. We had a couple of calm days there, and they got out there. And from what it sounds like, bottom fishing has been chugging along just fine, finding some decent numbers of codfish and some mixed other bottom species as well. Probably worth the run if that's your bag, if you want to fill the freezer for the winter. You know, keep an eye on their social media for when they're going to make another trip. I recommend the Francis Fleet. And then along the South Shore, I checked in with Declan from Breachway Bait and Tackle. He's been doing a little more ice fishing. They had some really nice largemouth, including a 6-pounder. They had some panfish species, and overall, he said the bite has been really good, and that's what he's been hearing from friends and customers as well. So I think the main thing in Rhode Island, just like everywhere else, is just everybody's taking advantage of this ice fishing. Moving over into Connecticut, I'm sure you're going to be really surprised to hear me say that most people are ice fishing in Connecticut as well. Some of the main things that I've been hearing is just the pike fishing has been exceptionally good this week. And it doesn't seem to matter where you go. There's a bunch of ponds in the state that are stocked with pike, that are producing fish right now. Patchogue has been good. Bantam has been good. There's been some taken from the coves of the Connecticut River. and we've heard of some fish from some of the ponds up in the northwest corner of the state as well. So pike fishing's going strong right now. We've got some weather coming in on Friday. Typically ahead of any of these weather systems, the pike fishing lights up, so that might be something you want to keep in mind. The Connecticut River Valley has been especially popular for ice fishing of all different kinds, whether guys are chasing sea forellins in Black Pond, or they're on the coves of the Connecticut River chasing pike and panfish, or they're in some of the other smaller ponds chasing largemouth bass. It doesn't seem to matter. The bite has been good, and the ice, at least for now, remains safe. For a little bit more on that, let's check in now with Rowan Lytle.
Howdy everyone. So the cold weather's definitely broken a little bit. We're looking at windy and warm conditions through the end of the week and some rain. And in some places in northern Connecticut, that may just kind of clean off the ice and keep it fairly fishable. But I would not be surprised if in most places we're losing safe ice at the moment. So a little bit of a bummer in that regard. It's kind of going to put us into a bit of a purgatory where most places are unsafe but still frozen over and not fishable in open water. Most of the rivers are still holding a lot of shelf ice. So all the Connecticut River tribs that are decent trout fishing, it's sporadic. Some of them have a bunch of shelf ice. They're going to be hard to fish. Some of them don't. I don't anticipate particularly good trout fishing through this window, but if you can find places without shelf ice, they might be productive. If you still have a lot of shelf ice, be very, very careful. It can be tempting to just walk out onto that shelf ice and fish the open water just beyond it, but that is a dangerous proposition, and it is a good way to go in. And if you go in this time of year and there's current, you are really asking for it. It's a dangerous time of year to be fishing trout streams recklessly, so don't be climbing out on that shelf ice. Just not a good move. Wait until it's gone and the fishing will be plenty good after. We'll see if we get another good shot of cold weather to kind of hold this ice. The weekend doesn't look too bad for it, and I'm sure in some places, especially at higher elevations and smaller ponds that aren't going to be wind affected, will still hold some good hard water. Otherwise, just be careful. The edges should be a little tricky. Spud your way out and don't do anything rash. Good luck out there. There's certainly some good fishing to come in the near future, so even if you're not liking the conditions now, just wait a couple weeks and we'll see what happens.
Now let's check in with Captain Mike Roy from Real Cash Charters.
Hey, what's up everybody? For this week's forecast, I'm down here in Venice, Louisiana at Journey South Outfitters. We just got off the water and we had some epic yellowfin tuna feeds on the surface. These are big tuna, 200 pounds, feeding on giant schools of bunker, and they were mean and aggressive. Been down here the past couple days catching big bull redfish. It's been a great trip. If you want to get down here, we're coming back next year. That's all I have for you for this week.
Now let's head inland a little bit and we'll check in with Derrick Kirkpatrick from Connecticut Fish Guides.
Hi Dave, coming to you today from inside. I've never seen so much ice on the Farmington. I don't think that I can remember. A lot of your pools, middle to downstream, are 70% locked up in some cases. In faster water, maybe a little less. So if you are planning on getting out in the Farmington, I would suggest probably going upstream. So above the confluence of the Still or just below it. And those areas are probably going to be the most open. They're still going to have ice, but maybe not as bad further downstream. So weather that's forecasted is kind of a little all over the place. You're going to want to target your low wind days. So you're going to have like one or two fronts, I think 2 fronts moving through, it looks like. So you're going to have kind of the drop in pressure and low pressure with low wind. And then as those storms pass through, the next day you get high wind with high pressure kind of pushing out, and then you get another drop. So you're going to want to fish the drops. Now, the thing about dropping pressure is it's not always consistently good. It can go one way or the other. But I do find that the fish are a lot less critical during those times. If they want to eat, they want to eat. Your stone flies, mop flies, big caddis larva, case caddis, stuff like that, especially if there's any bump and flow, your case caddis and stones. And then, of course, jigs and streamers, if you're going to deploy those, you're going to want to work them really, really slow. So there is opportunity. You're going to be grinding it out, but if you do get some positive reinforcement, it's probably going to be with a larger than normal fish, and most likely wild, because they are a lot more tolerant in the lower temps. They'll feed a little heavier than stocked fish. So, but if you're looking for something different, obviously there's plenty of ice fishing opportunities around the state. I will say that some of our larger and deep lakes locked up, not so great. So if you're going on any body of water that's over 60 feet deep, 70 feet deep, just be really careful. We had variants of like 3 to 4 inches of ice in some cases, and just a few steps. So back to you, Dave.
And now heading west from here, Max herniated a disc in his back, the poor guy. And he's not going to shoot a video for us this week. Hopefully he's going to be back on his feet next week. He did send me a few details. He said the few guys have been getting some herring in Norwalk Harbor and some of the other nearby harbors, but he said the bite's been pretty slow. A few guys have been on the Hoosie, dodging the ice flows and catching a few striped bass, but that bite has been really tough, and it's been made tougher, of course, by having to dodge all these big pieces of ice floating down. He did say that there's been one little cove up near O'Sullivan's Island where there's been some safe ice, and a few guys have been ice fishing up there. They've gotten some stripers, they've gotten some salmon, and even a tiger muskie, so that's kind of interesting. And then looking up toward the northwest corner, we've seen some smallmouth bass coming out of some of the ponds. We've seen some really good pan fishing, and of course we've seen some northern pike from up there. Overall, ice fishing leads the way again this week, and we'll see how long the weather lets us get on the ice, but it has been a banner ice fishing season so far. That's what I have for you guys in the reports this week. Hopefully it's going to inspire you to get out there. But even if it doesn't, you got to head over to our website. That's thefisherman.com. Check out what we offer. We cover all the fishing from Delaware to Maine. We have 3 editions that cover that. We have the New Jersey Delaware edition, we have the Long Island and New York edition, and then we have my edition, the New England edition, which covers all of New England. And we cover all different angling disciplines too, whether you're a surf guy, fly guy, offshore, inshore, it doesn't matter. We cover it all. We do travel pieces, we do tackle making, we do all kinds of stuff, and of course video content like this. It's $31.95 for the year. It's the best $30 you can spend in fishing. And if you come to a show to sign up, you're going to get a free pair of pliers, which makes it even better. But if you're not interested after all that, at the very least, give us a like and subscribe here on YouTube and hit that little bell thing right there so you get a notification every time we post something new. I appreciate you guys for watching, and we'll see you next week.